Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another video of Salesforce Makes Sense. This is Himanshu and we are continuing our Lightning Web Components Masterclass. In the pursuit of understanding and getting to know JavaScript a bit, we have started this small crash course in between LWC, and we'll jump into LWC right after we complete these fundamental concepts. For those of you who are looking at this video as the very first video, start from chapter 1 because we talk about LWC, we talk about LWC versus Aura, and then we land on to understanding JavaScript that will create or pave a path for us to actually start and master LWC. All right, in the previous tutorial we talked about objects in JavaScript, which was pretty much the entire idea of how you can keep different kind of attributes in a single container. Remember that example which was backpack, right? Now we'll jump on to understanding what are events. Okay, events in JavaScript are actions or occurrences that happen in the browser, such as a user clicking a button, typing, or resizing the window. So anything that you do is more like an event, right? What is a fancy event that you guys can tell? Like, I recently attended an event that was India versus Pakistan. That was an event, that was a live event, right? But think of this example posted on the orange color down below in the box here. Now imagine you are hosting a party. Okay, now someone rings the doorbell. All right, and you open the door as soon as you hear the doorbell, right? So what really happened? Someone did something which triggered you to do something, right? Someone rang the doorbell. That ring was an event. It was an event. And you handled that event by opening the door. So you acted as the event handler. So the doorbell is like an event trigger and your action is the response to the event. Now why do you need it? Anything that you do on the browser, it could be clicking, it could be typing, it could be hover, anything, any and everything are nothing but events. And for each event, you actually want to do something. For example, if you go to a website and you type your email address and you say subscribe, that adds your email address to the newsletter of the website. If you click on the login button, that opens a form. If you click on a drop down, it shows you pick list values. If you click on a checkbox, it shows you as checked. If you try to move it like this, it shows you it's moving. If you click here, it shows you about border here. Anything that you do on your computer are nothing but events and events being handled. Correct? So events allow your code to react to user interactions and browser behavior. Now without events, what would happen? If there were no events in the world, what would happen? Everything would be very much static. Correct? You would not be able to interact with anything. So I put up a post on Instagram, let's say, or I put up a post on YouTube for my subscribers. Now, how would I know that someone has actually seen it or, kind of feels good about it or, has their own opinion? If the like button was not there, the comment button was not there, the share button was not there, I would never know who have interacted with my post, correct? It would be more like a static post. So similarly, there are static websites, you cannot do anything on it. You can just read it, you can just view it, but that's so boring, right? You want to interact with things, right? That's where events come in picture, and they allow your code to basically react to whatever user is trying to do and also handle any kind of browser behavior. Okay, now common events are nothing but clicks, key down, mouse over. So mouse over or hover, clicks are nothing but clicking. This is double click, right? This is drag. Like, you have multiple events. All of these events are defined in the browser. Okay, common to irrespective of any programming language or technology, these events are browser events mostly. Correct? And you want to capture them, listen to them, and actually take an action once that event occurs. That's the idea. All right, did that basic idea make sense? All right, let's see if I have programmers open here or not. Yeah, I do have programmers. We'll get rid of this entire thing first and let's go back. Now let's try and add an event listener. Let's try and remove an event listener. Let's handle a button click and let's handle a hover action. All right, so this is what we are going to probably do. So let's see if I can actually show that to you here. I'm not sure if I'll be able to show that to you here, but let's see. JavaScript compiler online. All right, let me just see if I have JS Fiddle. Yes, let's go to JS Fiddle, or let's even try W3 schools, even that's fine. Okay, let's see. So now if I were to create an HTML element. All right, let's run it first. What happens? Yeah, you see a button has shown up. So button equal to click me. Let's say run. Name, title, value, click me, and then title will also be click me. I'm just trying out the attributes. Okay, I'm not sure which one is it, but mostly it should be one of these. If it is not, I'll have to just try to look at the button code. Button HTML, let's see, HTML button tag, type name value. Yeah, button. Okay, it should be in between. Okay, so I'll just take this from here, paste it here. Okay, and this is a type button. Now if I run it, you will see here that you get a click me button. Cool. But now I actually want to do something on this click. How do I do that? That's where you actually add event listeners. So you have to actually listen to the event of someone clicking it, and as soon as someone clicks it, what do you want to do? You tell the system what you want to do. Make sense? All right, now what am I going to do is, let me just try to I'm not sure how relevant will this be for your LWC, but let's probably try to do a click. So if I just try to put an on click here, okay, on click, and I want to do a function. So I'm just going to go here, and there should be, let me just try to get a code snippet just to explain you. But again, this is plain vanilla HTML and JavaScript, okay, just to explain you, right? So you see, on click is an event that you can put to your button and you can call a function out of here. So I just wanted the syntax. So let's go back to JS Fiddle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say on click equal to call my button method. Okay, this is a function that I've written here. Okay, now if I run it, what happens? Nothing really happens. If I click it, it says nothing really happens. It's just executing, but it says that there's an uncaught reference. Call my button method is not defined. Why? Because I've written the function on the HTML, but I've not defined it on my JavaScript. So this function has to be defined. Now, how do you define a function? As we discussed, function, name of the function, open bracket, close bracket, and then you do this. Now if I run it again, and if I click on this click me button, nothing really happens, but the error is not coming anymore. See, right? Because now it is defined. It's not coming as an error down below. And whenever I click it, nothing happens. Now, if you want something to happen, you can actually just say console.log. Let's try to do a console.log. I was clicked. Okay. And now I'm going to run it. All right. And now if I say click, you see, I get a console log automatically. See, this is me interacting with the browser. I was clicked. See, I was clicked. So this is getting printed every time. What does that mean? That means that if you have a button defined on your HTML, right, and then you have a listener, you have an event defined here on click, right, you can actually handle whatever you want to within the scope of this function whenever that event is listened. Make sense? All right, if I want to, let's say, give it a try to actually print it on the alert page so that it shows up as a pop-up, I'm going to say alert, I was clicked on the console. Let's try it out. And I say run. And this time when I click it, you see a pop-up comes here. That's basically the job of the alert function. I was clicked on the console is showing up as a pop-up. And I say okay. Okay, now what I want to talk about is I want to actually show you how you can actually access it on your JavaScript. So let's say I have a div. I'll just go ahead and take something from the internet, and I want to actually just, let's say, use a change event. Okay, now you can actually go to any library, but if you go to W3 schools, you have all of these HTML events here. All right, these are all the events that you have. But again, just be cautious how many of it can be used in LWC directly in the plain vanilla form. But yeah, you can look at it. All right, it's a good start. Now let's say I want to look at the change event. Okay, instead of the click event. So on change, now I'll just go ahead and say try it yourself here. And yeah, I have this code snippet available wherein you get to actually select a new car from this list. All right, and whenever you select something, an event is triggered, and that basically shows you something. So if I switch something to Mercedes, you see it says that you have selected Mercedes. Now how is this really happening? Right? So what I want to do here is I want to just take up this code, which is basically the drop down. Okay, let's go back to our HTML, and let's click on the run button. So now I should see the pick list showing up here. Okay, it's nothing but a select tag, and these are 4 options available. The only thing that you see here is on change, meaning you don't have an on click here, you have an on change option. Whenever a drop down comes in picture, you get an on change event. Okay, so if you change it, that's when the on change event triggers. So you will say handle car change. Let's say that's the name of my method. Okay, and you're going to create this method here, right? And I'll just get rid of this alert, or let's keep the alert, and I'll just say I was clicked on the car drop down. Okay, and let's say run. So far so good. Now if I go ahead and try to switch it, you see it says I was clicked on the car drop down, meaning your integration of the HTML with JS is working fine. Whenever you change the value, the handle car change method runs and it alerts using this alert. All right. Now, what I want to tell you is you can actually know a bit more about this particular tag by using the event attribute. This comes in-house. Okay. Now, if I were to just print it out, console.log, and I print event.target, let's print multiple things. Okay. I'm just going to give you multiple things. Event.target and event.target.value. Let's give it a run and let's try to print it. You will see the console somewhere here. I am going to say BMW. So you see, you're getting an error. It says cannot read properties reading target. So it looks like the event is not getting captured here. All right. What we are going to do is we are going to call and check if event.detail is available. Okay. Let's check. And I'm going to say run. All right. This is running and I'm now changing it to Mercedes. It still says event is not available. So there's some issue here with this code. Let's go back. That's the problem. So because this is plain HTML and plain JavaScript, I might not be able to show you event.target and event.detail fields here. But what we can actually look at is, if you are on plain JavaScript, you can actually use the document element. This document element is not really available in LWC because of the locker services, right? So what essentially it is doing is document.getElement by ID mySelect. mySelect is the ID that is on the select tag here. So get me the element that is on the HTML and give me the value that is selected. As soon as you see the value, you have that value and you can store it anywhere. Okay, that's the thing. You can actually get information about your tag, about your attributes, about the option that is selected, anything using this particular syntax. However, in LWC, you will have an option to actually use event.target and event.detail, the one that I was trying to show you. So that I was just a bit confused as to how do I show you, but event.target and event.target.value will be available in LWC when you use LWC components and you are inside the Salesforce framework. Okay, let me just try one more thing. Instead of using the handle car, okay, let's keep the handle car change and I have the ID here inside this function, right? Or let's not even do a function. Let's take the second approach of a function. I'll just say function input is equal to, I'm going to use the document object, right? And as soon as I type document, I get an option to choose one of the methods, right? So here I am going to choose a unique method that's called query selector. Query selector is nothing but, see, don't panic and don't overthink it. Okay, just be with me. Okay, just try to understand how events work. That's the primary agenda. The agenda is not to actually solve this problem right here. Okay, so query selector is a function that lets you look at your HTML entire file, and it actually lets you select the elements based on a certain ID. Let's say you can do it via multiple options, but let's say if you have an ID, you can actually take the ID here and you will automatically find the select tag. Okay, now whenever an ID comes in picture, you actually put a hash before it. So I'm going to say document.querySelector, and within double quotes, I'm going to say find me my select ID, which is basically this ID right here. Make sense? Okay, so this will actually give you the entire select tag. You want to give it a try? Let's do a console log. I'm going to print func input. Okay, let's say run. Okay, so if you notice down below here, by default you are getting the entire information. See, the entire information about this particular tag, that's the select tag, and all the attributes that are available are showing here, everything. So it's a pretty long list, it's a pretty big thing, but everything, see the background color, the text color, all of it is showing up here, everything. All right, now from this particular tag, what is it that you exactly need? Right, let me just see if I can actually use the target here now. So I'm going to say dot target dot value, meaning whatever has been selected, just give me that value. All right, let's say run. It says cannot read properties, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't think this is working on this level, but what I can do is, let's try to keep the func input available. That's document.query selector, and it's giving me the entire tag. Yeah, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually add an event listener. All right, so I'm going to say func input, which is my tag, dot add event listener. This is how you add event listeners to it. So basically you are trying to tell the select tag that be ready if anyone clicks on you. So I'm just trying to tell it to be ready when anyone clicks on it. Okay, and I'm going to put the on change, or let's say the change event. Right, and whenever that happens, I want to actually have a function. And what should that function do? That function should actually print out what has the user selected. All right, so if you now notice, whenever you change the value, what is really happening? It's first of all, the code from JavaScript takes a look at the document.query selector mySelect, meaning if there are, let's say, multiple HTML tags available, mySelect1, mySelect2, and mySelect. What is this line going to do is this is going to identify which tag matches the ID. So this tag matches, so it will go ahead and store the entire select tag here. So this select tag is available. I am going to get rid of this particular on change event listener here. Okay, just for the sake of plain JavaScript. Don't worry, this is not actual LWC. Understand how events are working. That's the primary key here. Okay, understand how events are working. You got the entire tag here in your hand, right? And then you are saying for the select input field, whatever this field is, I want to add a event listener on top of it. So I want to add a event listener, and that event listener is nothing but a change event. So whenever someone changes, something should happen. So adding an event listener takes two parameters. First is the event that you want to add, and second, what should happen when the event is called or the event is handled. So I say that I need the change event to be added, and whenever someone changes the value, I want to run a function, and in that function I want to just trigger the information of whatever the value is, whatever is the value of the field. That's why I've used a function here, added the event keyword, and I'm just logging it here. And here, if you notice, event.target.value works because I'm currently in the JavaScript space. Okay, when we do this in LWC, event listeners will already be available because we are working on top of a layer, right? It is layered JavaScript. So we don't have to actually add and remove event listeners. It will be available for us. We can directly access this event parameter. So we'll see that when we actually do LWC. But did you get an idea of how events work? This might be a bit confusing, or maybe I might have confused you a bit, but just understand that there are a lot of events available for each input element that you have in your HTML. You can have a lot of events available, and on each event you can do certain things. That's the whole idea. Okay, what I had on the keynote was more on the JavaScript side. You can add an event listener like this. And if you want to remove an event listener, you can actually just use the remove keyword here, remove event listener. Okay, as simple as that. All right, so for you to remove the event listener, you can just say remove event listener. All right, and which event do you want to remove and what method do you want to call? So there's one more way to actually do this. See, I have written this function here, and this function has this entire set of things that I want to do. So would it be possible if I could extract this entire function outside and keep it here, and instead of calling it a function of event, I can just create a normal function, and this would basically be remove change event. And what I can now do is I can actually take this name and I can place it here. Even this works fine. Okay, you can do add and remove like this. You don't have to write the entire code there. If you want to, it's good. It's good. You can write it in the plain syntax that is available. Or if you want to actually segregate your code, you can create a function down below. Use the name of the function here. Simple as that. Make sense? I think this will have the brackets here because it's a function. All right. So that's how you actually remove a function. We did handle a button click by using the on click here. We did handle the button click right before it. I think it was, yeah, it was just before. And let's handle a hover action. Okay. So let's try to do a hover action now. Cool. Now what is hover? Hover is basically as soon as you keep your mouse on something, right? So I'm going to get rid of this code. I'm going to get rid of this code and let's go back to the HTML events and let's find the hover element. Do we have hover here? I don't see hover. I think it would be mouse over. Let's see mouse over. Okay. So it calls a function when moving the mouse pointer onto an image. So basically this tells you that whenever you enter an element, so see, this is an element, this is an element, this is an element. Now if you notice, see what's happening when I hover over this section, my cursor becomes from a pointer to a selector. When I hover over here, it becomes a hand and the color changes to gray, the background color. That's your hover event, as simple as that. Okay, so what I am going to do is, let's see if I can just show you the hover element. So I'm going to say p tag, this is a plain vanilla text and we are using this to show hover property. Okay, let's run it. Nothing fancy. Okay, this is a plain vanilla text. Okay, nothing happens right now if I hover. See, the basic capability is still the same. There's nothing from our code that is happening, correct? So what I want to do now is I want to have a mouse over function. So what is the mouse over function? On mouse over. Let's take the name of the function. I'll put it in my p tag and I'll say on mouse over change color. Okay, this is the name of my function, change color. Now once I have named my function, I have to use it in my JavaScript or else it will not have a reference. So I'm going to create a function in JavaScript. All right, now here I'm going to say document dot query selector. See, this is just the generic way of doing it. I'm just trying to show you a scenario. I have to have a ID here if I am using a query selector, right? Just in the previous example we discussed, right, that we need an ID. So I'm going to say this is my paragraph. So I'll go ahead and use this paragraph ID and use it here. Double quotes, using the hash you can call a ID, and this will give you the entire p tag that you have. All right, now you have the p tag in your hand. I will just assign it to a variable, my text input, or let's say not my input, my text element. All right, my text element. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my text element dot inner text dot value is equal to change value. I'm just giving it a try, yeah, or else we'll just have to look at the internet because this is plain JavaScript. Let's try and I'll just explain you what I did. All right, this is not working. So we are calling change color function and we are storing my text element. Now my text element, let's try to debug it first. Let's try to console log what does my text element contain. Okay, and let's get rid of this particular thing right here. I think it is called inner HTML. It's not called inner text. So let me just check it very quickly. Inner HTML. Yeah, I think it is inner HTML. All right. So maybe just let's try inner HTML or else we'll do a debugging. So I'll just put inner HTML. That's the actual name. And I'll say run. Okay. It still does not work. It still does not work. That's okay. No problem. What if I just put inner HTML here and I say run? Yeah, it changed now. So inner HTML is the direct property that changes the text of your tag that you currently have. So you notice, see what happened. If I say run, if this is currently showing, this is a plain vanilla. See, I'm roaming around here, but whenever I hover over on top of it, it shows that particular value that I've set here, right? Now, what I actually wanted to do is I wanted to just change the styling. So I'll just say dot style dot background color. Okay, I just hope this is right, but let's give it a try. And I'm going to say, like, let's take blue as the color. So whenever we hover on it, the color of the background will change to blue. That's the whole hover function. All right, I've run it, and if I hover, see, the background becomes blue. Make sense? If you want to do more, you can actually just take this element and you can say style dot color is equal to white. Basically your font color or your text color will become white as soon as you hover, right? See, now the color is white and the background is blue. So you see how you have been able to handle an event from JavaScript, and that tag was sitting on HTML. You created a function, you added an ID, you use the function in JavaScript, you found the element on your HTML. As soon as you found it, you started modifying the properties. Now you will ask, Himanshu, how do I know what property to modify, from where to modify, and what is the exact syntax? You can find it all here. Okay, modify HTML for p tag example. Just try to search it, and you can just put a JavaScript tag. Just be cautious and be wary of the fact that this is all plain JavaScript. See, dot inner text, or you will have the inner text is here. So you can actually just try this out. Even this will work. All right. So you can just search it and you can start finding, and you can try using it. All right. That's how you'll find it. But this is again plain JavaScript. None of this is kind of most of it is available for you in-house from LWC. You don't have to actually, do all of this stuff there. So you don't have to worry. Okay. In that case, you just have the functions available and you can directly use them. The event.target and the event.detail. You don't have to wait for, looking at the document element. But it is important for you to understand how do events work. Okay. And I hope I was able to help you explain the basic fundamental of event. Okay, don't go into too much depth and don't think about how the galaxy has been formed here, but the primary idea is the context of it. Okay, any kind of thing that happens on the form, you will be handling it via events, and we'll do a lot of use cases on the LWC side, so don't worry. Okay, great. That was all I wanted to talk about. I have a sample question I'll probably take up in the next session, but what I want to talk about is how is this relevant for LWC. So everything you do in LWC will revolve around handling events, because see, what is a Lightning Web Component if you don't give any kind of user interaction, right? So you have to have events pretty much everywhere. Anyone changes a drop down, anyone clicks on a field, anyone clicks on a link, you have to handle all of that. How will you handle that? By using events. Okay. You'll also be actually listening and dispatching events between components. So you might have one component here and the other component here. You will trigger an event from here. It will reach this particular component and you will read it. I know right now it sounds like Greek and Latin, but when we'll do it, you'll actually understand what I'm talking about. This is more like communicating between two different Lightning components. How do you do it? By dispatching and listening to events. The same events that we discussed. The funda is same. Okay. You will actually use the same events to also pass data. So let's say this particular, as soon as you click on this tab, this section should be highlighted. That's an event triggered from this particular tab to this particular component. So these are two different components, and you will actually pass some information from component 1 to component 2. And that's where you'll use events, right? This might look tough, but it's easy really. So I'll make sure when we are towards the LWC side and we are actually doing use cases, I might have confused you a bit today. I feel that somehow, but this is actually really easy. And when we actually do LWC use cases for events, I'll make sure it is not tough at all for you and you are very much confident, because this is a very big pain point for people. Himanshu, events is something that I'm not understanding. I'm confused. I'm fearful of events. I'll clear all of that. Okay, don't worry. Great. What I'll do is I'll just do a sample question as a separate video, because this video has taken a bit longer than I expected. We'll do an email validator with regex pattern. If you are confident enough on this, you can go ahead and give it a try, or you can also give this particular set a try. But yeah, let's wait for the next video to come up where I talk about these two slides, and then we move on to the next topic. All right, great. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.